It's very expensive.
It's very expensive.
Look, I got money to spend in here.
I don't think we have anything for you. You're obviously in the wrong place. Please leave.
You know, even though we've watched Pretty Woman like 36 times, I never get tired of making fun of it.
Oh, I know. Aw, poor thing. Look, they won't let her shop. Yeah, like those salesgirls in Beverly Hills aren't bigger whores than she is.
I know.
Oh my god, listen to that sad, sad music as she leaves. It's like boo-hoo.
That is actually kind of sad.
Anything you see here we can do, by the way. Get ready to have some fun, okay? Mary Pat, Mary Kate, Mary Frances, Tova, let's see it. Come on, bring it on.
I just get really happy when they finally let her shop.
Welcome back to the show, everybody.
This is Movie Pete.
Are you excited?
I'm so excited. I've been waiting for a long time to talk about this movie on the show.
I mean, yeah, as have I. This is a fun one. Well, they're always fun ones.
Yeah.
We always say that. But everybody out there listening, I hope you're ready for this. My name's Pete.
And I'm Scott. And these are the movies that made us gay.
Yes, indeed.
Welcome back to the show. Two great romances back to back. And today, we had our friend Chris Rosson over to watch Pretty Woman, released March 23rd, 1990, directed by Gary Marshall and written by J.F. Lawton. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here discussing one of my favorite movies of all time.
I think it's one of my favorite romantic comedies. And fun fact about Pretty Woman, this was almost episode 100.
Oh, that's right. I forgot
think
about that.
it was on my schedule for episode 100. I even was messaging Millie.
I was ready for that.
Because she was our guest for episode 100, and I decided to do Dirty Dancing instead.
Right.
Well, so you got Pretty Woman.
Hey, thank you.
So it all worked
Dirty
out.
Dancing also, you know, I carried watermelons many a time.
I
was ready. I could be ready for that, but Pretty Woman... Ugh.
It's so quotable. I mean, Chris, you colored my hair, and when I went over for my last touch up, I think that we just shouted Pretty Woman quotes for a good 5 minutes,
screaming them back and forth.
Probably. I mean, there are some quotable, fantastic lines. I mean, who could? I mean, there's not a day that goes by when you don't say $50, Grandpa, for 75. The wife can watch. I mean
Reach, Bev, Will.
It's my nickname on my jersey for kickball. Reach, Bev, Will, and the kids had no idea what this was from, and I had to school them on the joy of Laura San Giacomo and Pretty Woman.
I have a lot to say about her.
Love that.
But before we get too into talking about Pretty Woman, this is our fourth Julia Roberts movie that we've covered on Movies That Made Us Gay.
All right.
So we started out with Steel Magnolias.
Okay.
That was the first one we did.
I mean, that one, there's not a day that goes by without I don't quote that motherfucker, but I digress.
We did one last summer.
Last
Blake.
Did you
summer
do Hook?
with Blake? We did My Best Friend's Wedding.
Okay.
My Best Friend's Wedding. We did Hook was
we just did Hook.
Hook was our Christmas episode.
Yeah.
And now Pretty Woman.
Yeah. Number 4.
I mean, we love us some
You
Julia,
better work Julia
on the pod, and in honor. I think that I'm going to start calling this segment leading ladies, like a quiz of just all of our favorite leading ladies that we've started to do 3 or maybe 4 movies of.
Wait a minute, are you going to test us? Was there homework?
Oh my God, I didn't do it.
A little Julia Roberts
A
pop.
warning?
Okay, we're going to do a little Julia Roberts pop quiz.
All right.
So,
all right.
And you can both tag team all of this too.
Okay.
Oh,
can you name the 4 movies in her most known for in IMDb?
Okay.
So these are the mysterious Internet Movie Database algorithm. Right. What comes up?
I'm thinking
in the main page.
Aaron Brockovich.
Oscar win.
Aaron Brockovich is there.
Okay. I mean, Pretty Woman has to be there.
Pretty Woman is number 1.
Okay.
It's the first
2
one.
more.
Mm-hmm. My Best Friend's Wedding?
My Best Friend's Wedding isn't there.
Okay, that was a big resurgence for her. That was the comeback of the Pretty Woman they called
She was coming off of quite a few flops in the mid-90s.
Yeah.
I'm taking off...
let's see.
My next 2 choices, Pelican Brief and Mary Riley.
No.
Pelican Brief. I totally forgot about that.
Pelican Brief, I feel like a sizable hit for her.
Is Mystic
in the
Pizza
early
there
90s.
just because it was her first?
Mystic Pizza's not there.
No, yeah, I'm thinking
Yeah.
the early ones are never there.
So a little hint, these are both dramas.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're iconic Julia dramas, but I don't
Iconic
know if
Julia
you two,
dramas.
I don't know if you two really are super familiar with
Is
them.
Notting Hill on there?
Without pulling out our phones. Iconic Julia dramas. And we already said Aaron.
Aaron's there. We already saw her.
Okay, so
Is
one
Steel
of,
Magnolias on there?
Steel Magnolias is not there. You think, well, Steel
More
Magnolias
of a comedy.
has one of those casts that you think that it would show up with
Because
the
so
algorithm.
many of
Yeah.
them.
And one of these movies, I think, shows up for every actor in the movie.
Okay.
So it's like
every
it's a
main
huge cast, and I
it's
want to
in
say
Is
that
it like
almost
one of the
everyone.
oceans, like Ocean 11 or 12?
Okay.
No.
Not quite.
Okay.
You think that would also be there, but it's not
Yeah.
there.
A drama?
It's a drama. She got an Oscar nomination for it. It was her follow-up nomination, like, over 10 years later.
It's August Osage
It's
County.
August
isn't it?
Osage County.
Okay.
Julia's really good in
Interesting.
August
That's
She
in
Osage
is,
everybody,
but
too.
that's such a... It's
That's
such
in
an
everybody's
off-
top.
Yeah, it's one of the, like, it shows up for Ewan McGregor, Benedict
I mean,
Cumberbatch.
it's
Yeah.
great if you care about that sort
Yeah.
of thing, but most people just let that pass
It's
and
a
they
famous
give two
play.
shits.
It's a
Oh,
really
yeah.
weird movie.
I
to
saw it
be
on
in
Broadway. It was
all of their.
Maybe
amazing. I mean,
maybe
didn't
it's
it win the
Merrill
Pulitzer
factor,
or
I don't know.
something?
I
Yeah.
think it did, yeah.
Yeah.
I think
And-
the Merrill made it probably.
Yeah.
There's
pushed
one
it
more.
into everybody.
Okay.
And it's another drama.
It's another drama. It is based on a play as well.
Oh, shit.
Four big actors, and they're pretty much the only people
Was
in the
it
entire
that one
movie.
where, like, she was like a cop or
Oh,
something
I
and her
know-
daughter
I know
got
what it
killed or something?
No.
With Nicole Kidman?
It's the one where they're all yelling at each other about sleeping with each other,
and she talks about cum.
about swallowing Clive Owen's jizz. Is
Yeah.
it-
Oh, Closer.
Closer?
Taste but you, but
Yeah.
sweeter.
Yeah.
It's closer.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember I was dating a guy. I lived in New York at the time, and I was just I saw that by myself. That's when I used to go take myself to movie dates alone in New York all the time. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Scott Youngbar status.
But I was like, I will never see this with my. I was like, you go see that by yourself,
Go have
but
fun.
we're not seeing it together because
Yeah.
this is just drama waiting to unfold. This movie is just going to open up a can of worms.
I remember the audience of women that I saw it with all gasped at that line. He tastes
Yeah.
but you, but sweeter. You can just tell, like, the entire audience of women just like,
They're like, cum's never sweet.
It's never sweet. I don't care how much pineapple.
Liars, pineapple, liars.
all right. So, what do you think the highest grossing movie of hers is?
Highest grossing Julia movie. This is interesting.
This one was interesting. I had kind of forgotten about it, but it
Oh,
was
okay.
It was
You
a
forgot
huge hit
about
when it came
It
out.
was a huge hit when it came out. Can you give us a year, or is that going to give it away too much?
I mean, I think it would give it away.
okay.
Also, the cast is huge.
Cast is huge. Julia.
I mean, was it
has any of us
Ocean's
said it?
11?
It's one of the
It's
Oceans.
Ocean's 11.
Okay.
Yeah.
Followed by Pretty Woman that made 178.
It's-
Also,
Wow.
$178 million
In 1990?
in 1990.
It is
Yeah.
isn't it still the highest grossing rom-com
Wow.
I
ever?
mean,
Probably.
I think that it's something about Mary. I think topped it in
But was
98.
that rom-com really, or was
Something
that
about Mary-
slapstick, dirty,
something about
filthy
Mary
comedy?
is a
I mean,
rom-com.
there's
Hard
cum in
comedy.
her
We
hair.
were talking about this earlier today. What
Coming in
what
here.
women want is still one of the biggest romantic comedies ever made.
Ew, it's
Wild.
so
Yeah,
horrible.
so
A
weird.
movie that I never think about,
So weird.
but is still one of the biggest romantic
I
comedies.
guess it was Mel Gibson in his heyday, but still. ugh.
I mean, Nancy
Yeah.
Myers was on a roll.
good old
Yeah,
Okay,
Nancy
so
Myers.
what do you think the highest rated movie on Rotten Tomatoes is?
highest,
the highest
rated.
critical score.
Highest
This
critical
one was also
score.
interesting.
Aaron Brockovich.
No,
Is it August Osage County?
no. It is a TV movie.
A television movie.
It is a television movie.
But are we talking HBO?
It's for HBO.
Oh.
I mean, come on, it's Julia.
Yeah. What did she do for HBO? I can't even think of.
I think she was nominated for an Emmy. I don't think that she won though.
Probably. I can't think of it.
What was it?
Yeah. What was it?
Give you a hint. It's Ryan Murphy.
Ryan Murphy. Was she in? What was she in of Ryan Murphy's?
It's The Normal Heart.
She was in Normal Heart?
Yeah,
That's right. She was the
Wow.
doctor.
she's the doctor.
Oh my god.
Can you name the other Gary Marshall movies Julia has made besides?
Runaway Bride.
Bride.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Reunited with Richard Gere.
Yep.
And the whole Gary Marshall ensemble.
Right.
Two movies that you probably never think about.
Okay. There's two more besides Runaway Bride.
Yep.
And Pretty Woman. Okay. And Julia, is she? Are they Julia vehicles, or is she like she's there?
She is definitely heavily featured in both of
it's
them.
the Valentine's Day or New
Valentine's
Year's Day or whatever.
Do you remember
Valentine's
the other
Day.
holiday movie that he made with her?
Was it New Year's Day or Mother's
Mother's Day.
Is that the one with the bob?
That's the one with the
Yeah.
bob.
The wig.
The
That
iconic
horrible
wig.
Bob.
Is it too Carol Channing?
It's more. I mean, I think they're going for
They're going for Anna Wintour.
Anna Wintour. Yeah.
Julia was the first actress to make a salary of $20 million for a movie. Do you know what it was for?
Julia made $20 million.
My best friend's wedding.
I want to say she made $20 million on Aaron Brockovich.
It was Aaron Brockovich.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was a big thing. Yeah.
Yep. What was Julia's official screen debut that she got credit for?
Oh, it's the movie where they're in a band with Justine Bateman.
Yeah.
And it's called Satisfaction.
Yes.
But it also has another name, and it was called The Girls of Summer.
I've never seen it. It looks really cute, though.
I
wanna
saw
watch
it when it came out.
Did
I
you?
remember, yeah.
Uh-huh.
It was like one of those like summer things, and I just did lots of movies.
And they were pushing Justine Bateman as like she is.
well,
the one
yeah,
that
because
you're
she
gonna
was
watch.
it. Because
Yeah.
it was,
It
you know,
track for that
Mallory
time.
Keaton.
it was, yeah, she was Family Ties.
And Justine Bateman, so cute, love her. I loved her in Family Ties. She was so funny as Mallory.
It's so strange. It was always hard for me to put, even though they're just like basic white brunettes, but like I don't just see her and Jason as siblings
right?
ever.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. How many Oscar nominations does Julia have, including her win?
4.
I was
Four?
going to say
You're very
3.
right. Can you name them?
Okay.
Pretty Woman. Mm-hmm. She won for Aaron Brockovich, obviously. She got a nomination for, I don't know, Pelican Brief?
Steel Magnolias.
Steel Magnolias.
Oh, yeah, she did. That's right.
But
And
that's
what was
only
the
3.
fourth?
Yeah.
And then we mentioned it at the top of the quiz. August Osage County.
Oh, she got a nomination for that?
She was nominated for that, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
Who was her date to the Oscars of 1991 and 2001?
Kiefer.
And who's the other one?
Oh, and 2001?
When she won for Aaron Brockovich.
Denzel.
No.
God.
She gave
her husband?
She read off Denzel's name.
Yeah.
No, it was who she was dating at the time.
Oh, she wasn't married to.
She wasn't married to Danny yet.
Okay. 2001.
They were a big celebrity couple that is not really talked about anymore.
No. Okay.
But they were a thing for years.
and it's not.
It's not Lyle Lovett.
I love it.
No.
That was early 90s.
This hand gesture on my hair.
It's like the Kramer hair.
Yeah, the Kramer hair, exactly.
Or
I
the
don't-
Pete hair
I
after
don't-
a few
yeah.
more months.
Yes, exactly. I don't remember.
Benjamin Bratt.
Oh,
She had a thing with Benjamin
that's
Bratt.
was
right.
a very weird coupling.
Shot in the dark. How many Golden Globe nominations do you think she has?
Man, 30.
10.
They're handing those out
You're
like
close.
candy.
9.
Okay.
Wow. See?
All right, let me think. What 2 Oscar-winning Best Actress roles did Julia turn down? So actresses went on to win in those categories that
Okay.
she was offered,
Sure. And she said,
and maybe
"Hell no,
even
we won't
written
go."
for it with it in mind.
Okay. And she said no. I'm going to say Annie Wilkes in Misery. No. And Driving Miss Daisy.
Stupid. Let's see. What
No.
came after? Silence of the Lambs? No.
No,
One
that
is
was
from
Michelle
the,
Pfeiffer.
One is from the late 2000s.
Late 2000s. All right. Who won Best Actress?
The late aughts?
In the late,
The late
aughts.
She plays a Southerner.
I'm
Reese Witherspoon?
blanking on...
One of them is Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side.
Oh, that's a Julia role.
And the other one is a period movie of the late 90s.
And it was Best Actress, not
Best
supporting.
Actress, yep.
Would she have been Marmee in Little Woman?
No, she's
too young for that.
Too young.
And Susan didn't win Best
Late
Actress
90s.
for that. Late 90s. Best Actress in the late 90s, and it was period, and it was...
Shakespeare in Love?
It was Shakespeare in Love.
Stop it!
She was offered Viola in Shakespeare in Love, and she
Stop
said no.
it.
And I think that when she was sort of attached to it, it was her and Daniel Day-Lewis.
Huh.
See, the
who would've-
ages...
who would have
matched
starred
a little
with
better.
her.
Joseph Fiennes, though. My God, him in that movie.
Yeah.
I thought dirty
And
things
this
about
is
him then.
a point that we're probably going to talk about a little bit later, but I feel like Joseph Fiennes would have probably read too young for Julia
Yeah.
Roberts.
Oh, yeah.
And not that he is,
No.
It's a fine pairing, but I feel like on screen they would have said, oh no, he's too young. Daniel Day-Lewis, who's considerably older than Joseph Fiennes, they would have played off each other better. And it's because Julia just has a mature...
And we mentioned this before, that just because of her stature alone, she reads older. I mean, in Pretty Woman, she's 22, and Richard Gere's 40, and it doesn't seem like an 18-year age difference.
Totally. Yeah.
So what is the only sequel Julia has ever made? She's only done one.
Ocean's 12.
Ocean's 12.
I was going to say, one of the Oceans.
Where she plays
herself
character
and
Tess
Julia Roberts.
That looks like the actress Julia Roberts.
Weird.
Dual role of herself and her character.
I only saw it once.
I
don't
think I've seen it maybe twice because it was probably the worst of the bunch, but it was... Yeah.
So my last
so ridiculous.
So my last question is, I thought this was interesting, and I had to Google it to try to get like a few sources for this answer, but I thought it was interesting. Who was Sleeping with the Enemy originally written for? And she is an actress from the 60s and 70s. So this was probably a script that was older,
floating around,
that they just sort of repurposed in the. I mean, at that time it was the early 90s.
Yeah, Sleeping with the Enemy, and it was written for
Sally Field.
Charo.
Close for not Charo.
Okay.
Close, kind of close with Sally Field. You're in the same ballpark and age.
Okay, same ballpark and age.
I was trying to go for like a cute stretch to pull them together.
Would
in
have
the movie,
been young in the 60s.
Young in the 60s. Not Jane.
It's Jane.
Jane Fonda.
It's Jane Fonda. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
If I could just
all right.
an 70s or 80s Jane Fonda in this role, I mean, maybe.
Yeah, with like...
Could have been... Yeah, could have... I mean, why... Yeah, definitely could have worked. I'm thinking Lauren Bacall. Did she not do that with the fan?
So that was our Julia quiz.
Yeah,
Okay, that was very...
Yeah. That was a great... I like to use the sound effects for the quizzes.
That was a lot of depth for that
You
quiz.
both did well.
Yeah.
And Pretty Woman. I mean, so I've been wanting to get to this movie for a while.
Yes.
And I think this is kind of one of the big movies that I just associate living in Los Angeles with, especially when I moved here. Because when I first moved here, I moved to West Hollywood and then a place in the Hollywood Hills. Do you remember my apartment sort of just below the Hollywood Reservoir?
Yeah.
So I would go to Hollywood Boulevard a lot.
Yeah.
And this movie was always on my mind. Like I always just tried to think like, okay, where was she talking with Kit when she first sees
they mentioned
Richard Gere?
the stars on the walk. From Fred Astaire to, whoever.
Esther Williams.
Esther Williams.
Esther Wilson. Esther Williams, where you belong.
Yeah. So they're like literally pointing out landmarks that we could probably go find,
Well, and the Las Palmas Hotel, it's just like, seeing it in the film and like growing up watching that and feeling like it was this huge landmark, and then you go and you're like, this is a little shit duplex, like 4-room hotel, but it's still like I would go visit it when I first moved to LA.
Yeah, and Hollywood's full of those kinds of little tiny, like, why are they even calling this a hotel? The Blue Banana, not a real location.
Not a real location.
But I mean, those
endeavored to
those
find,
bars are, just all over Hollywood Boulevard. And that's what's interesting about Hollywood Boulevard is that even now in 2022, I think that we were just there for around my birthday. There is still that grittiness to Hollywood Boulevard. Absolutely. That's a leftover from this time.
Yeah.
That even kind of in gentrified LA.
No matter how much you try to clean it, wash it, you're just always going to get the street people and the drug use and the not so much prostitution anymore because everyone's moved into the digital world for that. But I remember coming home from the airport one time and it was like 6 a.m. Everyone was just like the birds were just chirping, and this girl was just out there working it for her last buck, and she just was not even giving us, just pulled up her shirt and just started shaking those store-bought titties, and like, come on,
it's late.
Gotta love LA. That 6 a.m. Going for that last trick.
Airport hookers. That's a whole other.
I mean, we could have a whole side podcast about hookers in LA in general. But
I feel like when I first moved here, that was sort of the last few years of just seeing streetwalkers on Hollywood Boulevard. Yeah. And they're probably, they're probably there now, but they're just not as prevalent as they once were.
Because everyone can get their sex online now, so you don't have to go out in public to find it anymore.
Yeah. And, but like there's also not just like through the apps.
No.
There's
But
also like Rent Boy.
Rent Girl, Rent Boy, like all those things. There's, I have.
And it's legit. It is a business.
Acquaintances who are air quote masseuses. They say they are there for a massage, but that is not what they're there for.
Listen, they're getting paid for the time that they're hanging out.
Exactly.
With
They are providing
whatever happens
a
on that
service.
evening. Happens on that.
They are
evening.
providing a service, whether that's a nice massage or a big fat dick inside you.
Well,
they're providing that service.
I'm getting paid to show up.
And what happens from there is up to you.
Exactly.
The world of selling yourself has certainly changed since Pretty Woman was the day. But, in the end, it's all the same. You know, it's all transactional. It's all this for that.
We've all
quid
seen
pro quo is the name of the game.
I think calling it a May-December relationship when we're in Palm Springs is being a little generous. Sometimes it's a January-December relationship when you're in Palm Springs going, what is going on here? I know what's going on here. And it is companionship, and they are paying for the time.
Yes.
But
I love those memes that are like, like some young boy kissing some like 70-year-old. It's like, got my new PlayStation 5. Don't ask any questions.
Every time a new iPhone comes out, those memes come out, and they're great every time. And I love it.
So that's kind of a good segue for the production history of Pretty Woman, which I find very fascinating. That this movie was written by J.F. Lawton, who was just a struggling screenwriter at the time in the 80s writing this movie, and would just talk to the local sex workers about
he lived in Hollywood and would just
what
talk to the girls.
Of just how did they get to Los Angeles and started to turn tricks, and that a lot of them were just sort of from the Rust Belt. When everything went belly up in the audio industry, they moved out to L.A. They ended up turning tricks, and just sort of him thinking, like, wouldn't it be really interesting to write something like this in a movie? And he said that he was talking to a girl that had pretty much a whole Vegas week paid for by this, like, millionaire. And then at the end of it, just like, I'm done. Like...
Yeah, the John was like, this was great, have fun.
But just sort of treated her like a princess for a week,
Yeah.
and then it was over. And he just kind of thought, wouldn't that be a really, great idea for a movie?
And if you're a prostitute, shit, what a week. I'd be like, that's kind of like your not golden ticket, but I feel like every now and then you'd be like, all right, this is the one that's going to like whisk me away. And I'd be okay with that.
I feel like in Vegas that happens a lot more often with Vegas prostitutes.
Vegas girls, yeah. If you're in Vegas, you can get the whole like,
I have
let's stay at your room,
client who has, on harder times turned to selling what he was given naturally and got picked up for a weekend and stayed in a suite and got taken to all the best restaurants and all the best clubs and everything got paid for, flown out to LA the next week.
So he lived this movie.
He, just had a little Pretty Woman moment for a long weekend. It was definitely there, but it did not turn out the same because that person is still in Las Vegas turning tricks.
He did not get the fairy tale.
No, but... Hey.
But hey, I'm not mad at that week.
I'm not mad at that week either.
What a time.
So this movie was originally titled 4,000.
3,000.
3,000.
Yeah.
Excuse he would have paid 4.
He would have paid
He
4.
would've- She would have done it for 2.
She would have taken 2.
He would have done it for 2. So it was originally written as
4's too
a
low.
darker look at just prostitution.
Right.
And these relationships. And this originally began at Vestron, which is the little studio that did Dirty Dancing.
It was originally just like a VHS home video distribution, and then they did Dirty Dancing and got this huge blow up.
And then then they went belly up in the
last
late
long.
80s, and they were shopping this movie around, and Disney's
Touchstone Pictures.
They would do like sort of like the more adult fare.
They did all the Bette Midler projects.
and like Turner and
Bette Midler
Hooch,
movies.
and the sister acts were Touchstone.
Outrageous Fortune, Beaches, and they bought
All
the
of
script.
those.
Yeah.
And
all the movies we grew up on.
Yeah, all the the movies that made us gay.
Exactly.
And Gary Marshall had just done Beaches for Touchstone, and he attached himself to the movie, and then the movie started to evolve in a very different direction.
Right.
Even as they were shooting.
Right.
The cast says on that Movies That Made Us on Netflix that they would do the funny take, and then they would do the serious take.
And then they do a third special take where they talked about anything,
Something
maybe
in
his
between.
shoes. Say something about the shoes, and that's good. I love a Marshall family accent. I mean,
Yes.
Gary and nothing is. I could listen to Gary Marshall and Penny Marshall talk, and it's so grating and so horrible, but I just love it because of just growing up hearing them, and I mean,
Cheryl.
Laverne and Shirley, and then, Gary...
Julia, we're going to go meet Richard to convince him to do the movie.
We're going to convince Richard.
We gotta get Richard.
We gotta get
Do
Richard.
whatever you can.
Do whatever you can. Slide him that Post-it note that says, please do the movie.
I think I love him so much also because of my adoration for the film Soap Dish. As problematic as it is today, there are some...
Yeah.
I can still
I'm
watch
the
it
same
up
way
until
with-
the end. And
I'm
be
the
like,
same way
okay.
with Overboard.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He's iconic. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
What can
And
you say?
I think that just Gary is from that school of directors. It's probably like a World War II thing of that when people go to the movies, they want to go for escapism and to have fun and
Yeah.
to laugh.
Well, I mean,
too.
up until before he started doing films, he was best known for Happy Days,
Right. Right,
which was
yeah.
also again another way of escapism,
Yeah,
taking us
yeah,
back to the
absolutely.
50s and the
Nostalgia.
70s and 80s. Which crazy that nostalgia then was just a 20-year dip. Like Back to the Future was 30 years.
Yeah.
From
Still,
85 to 55, and now we've already surpassed 2015 when Back to the Future 2 was.
Yeah, but something about that 50s nostalgia, though, it's just like
Yeah.
very keyed into a specific time.
Yeah.
And he just capitalized on it so well. And it's so interesting because Happy Days is this kind of white bread, I guess, very it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Richie
Yeah.
Cunningham, and they're this very white, waspy family. But it's who's behind it? Freaking Gary Marshall.
Yeah.
Who's a very ethnic and,
totally.
Coming from a very loud kind of a cultural background and all that. So it's, interesting how, he kind of brings these kind of all-American values to his projects.
Right.
But he also is very all-American, but it's in a more ethnically kind of charged background. So maybe that's how he's able to just inject things that we all kind of latch on to.
Yeah.
But
Still kept the screenwriter, J.F. Lawton, on.
The writer, the
they
screenwriter,
tried to
yeah.
can him, but he insisted on
Well,
having him
they
develop
brought
the
in
script with him.
several different people to work on it in the interim of
Right.
giving him the boot and then bringing him back, as
Right.
far as I have read. But yeah,
So this role was always intended for Richard Gere. Of that, when they were first shopping it around, Richard Gere was always at the top. I mean, American Gigolo, Officer and a Gentleman.
Yeah.
yeah,
And he originally passed on it because he didn't want to do it.
right.
because that was when it was still the darker.
Well, yeah, and I think even for not just for a romantic comedy, but for a mainstream movie to be oh, you're gonna fall in love with a prostitute. It's
Yeah.
I don't know about that. I imagine at this time, John Travolta might have still been box office poison.
Yeah.
Maybe he's doing your Look Who's Talking.
Yeah, he was
but-
doing Look Who's Talking
this is
at this
pre-
point.
They read,
So who are they reading for this?
I think that Burt Reynolds was one
That's
of the ones
too
that
old.
they, that
I
they
couldn't
really
even.
considered.
It was really
Too old.
considered, and I can't even imagine that.
They would have had to way up the age. It
Oh
couldn't
yeah,
have been
Vivian
Julia.
would have been
Yeah.
35.
Yeah, couldn't have been.
But then it would have been a horrible different movie because she would have been some washed up.
Changed
It would have
the
been
stakes.
Best Little
Yeah.
Whorehouse in Texas.
Yes.
Al Pacino was somebody that
No.
they read with Julia, and Al was just I really like her. She has a bright future ahead of her. I'm not doing this movie.
Yeah.
Also, when you look at the actresses that were reading when.
Well,
they-
the legend is Molly Ringwald.
Yeah.
Molly
The
Ringwald.
legend is
Ringwald
Molly. Molly
constantly
passing
says-
on it, right?
saying, that's the biggest mistake I ever made was
Yeah.
passing on
Some of
Pretty
the
Woman.
other names that I was reading, Diane Lane, I think was pretty close to getting Vivian.
though, Diane Lane has not a reputation, but it's one of those things where every time you're reading an IMDb, actress is considered for this movie, her name is always there.
She was always considered.
And
She
it's
was
like,
the
why
bridesmaid.
doesn't she have this bigger career? You know,
It didn't happen until
just
her
didn't happen
later
for
in her life.
Yeah.
Like she got those
in a Richard Gere movie,
Yeah.
as of the sexy,
yeah.
you know,
and then
adults,
Under the
like-
Tuscan Sun and
Yeah,
those sort
yeah.
of things pushed her into that next stage. But
Yeah.
what was that? Oh, she did that one that Hurricane or whatever, the Perfect Storm.
Oh,
where she was with
shit.
Mark Wahlberg. I'm like,
Yeah.
she's 1,000 and
That was
he's
weird.
20.
She's a little older than him. Yeah.
Drew Barrymore and Winona Ryder wanted the role, but Marshall felt that they were both too young.
Okay. Yeah. Winona looks young, and Drew comes off young. Yeah.
Uma
They're
Thurman
about
and
the
Jennifer Connelly
same. Uma would have been good.
auditioned. And also, I could see all four of those actresses being in 3000, the darker movie.
Right.
I think any of them would have worked
Yeah.
for a darker past that material. And I should also say that I would totally watch the darker version of this
Oh,
movie.
totally.
That I would have, I would love that movie.
Yeah.
But I think that it's interesting that this is the movie that we got. And
Right.
I love it.
It's so funny how, at the time in 1990 when this movie came out, we were just fresh. Were we still with... Wait, was Clinton the president yet, or was Bush still president?
Bush was
Bush
still
was-
president.
It was still Bush, so we were still in a thick,
Coming out of the
coming
Reagan
out
years.
of the Reagan
Yeah.
years,
Yeah.
very Christian pushing, the Tammy Faye years, and the electric churches coming at us, and Pat Robertson and what's his fart, the old fat fuck that were pushing Christian values at everyone, and,
Yeah.
and then this movie was a big fuck you to that whole establishment saying we can make a movie about a prostitute with a heart of gold.
Yeah.
And it's a borderline family movie.
Yeah.
There's sex in it, but it's not anything
Yeah.
too risque.
Yeah. So I think Richard Gere brings to it this he's playing it so subdued, right? And he plays Edward as just this uptight, super rich, and just every little bit that you get about Edward's character, he's like, well, she can't be my niece because I'm an only child. It's like, well, of course you're an only child. Things like that, and about his.
It's such a rich dude thing.
Yes.
It's such a thing of privilege. It's all he plays it perfectly because it's all just spurned by that just in inherent sense of I know that I'm worth more than the rest of you will ever be.
And I feel like these other actors that they were reading for wouldn't have been able to be as subdued as Richard Gere.
Right. They would have had to push it further and make it more annoying.
Yeah.
Speaking of Richard Gere, is there anything better than vintage Richard Gere from the 70s and the 80s? We just watched Looking for Mr. Goodbar a few months ago, and holy shit.
I remember staying up and
his
watching
fuckboy in that movie.
American
Oh my
Gigolo.
God.
Yeah.
I was staying the night at my mom's friend's place when she was out of town, and I stayed up late and laid in front of the TV and turned on HBO super low just to see him shirtless.
Yeah.
Be like, oh.
I mean, you see him pretty much naked in American Gigolo, which I love. Who loves Richard Gere? Moms.
Yeah.
Moms love Richard Gere.
Bulletproof when it comes to women of a certain age.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I don't know.
It was certainly, it was specifically picked for the female audience. He was chosen to appeal to middle-aged women.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't care about the whole he's a Buddhist and he's a vegetarian and all that. Whatever. It doesn't come off as annoying or precious or anything to me. It's just that's just kind of the path he chose, and I don't think he's preachy about it. I feel like he's just this is just the life that I'm leading, and who cares what you guys do, but I'm a vegan Buddhist and whatever. And I don't know. I feel like other actors that kind of storyline
He
in their
doesn't go
life,
to-
you'd be like, oh,
he doesn't go to like a Joaquin Phoenix level of
Yes.
just sort of being annoying. Yeah,
I mean, I feel like Richard Gere has had some award speech moments where it's like, all right, tone it down.
Well, and then
But
we
for the
had,
most
you
part-
know, the entirety of the late 80s and 90s, the whole gerbil story.
I mean, but that's all like straight male jealousy.
Yeah.
That's the whole
Oh, yeah, totally.
Rod Stewart getting his stomach pumped, which evolved
because they were
into-
just jealous of Rod Stewart fucking all of those women.
Exactly.
They're like, why is a 65-year-old fucking a supermodel?
Absolutely. And you know, I don't know, I mean, Scott, this probably didn't happen for you. Let me ask you this. The Rod Stewart stomach pump full of jizz story, in my school, it was Jordan Knight. There was a rumor going around that, and it was this, and I didn't realize until I was like a teenager in my 20s that is an old recycled rumor about Rod Stewart. And then I was like, but I heard it about Jordan Knight when I was in middle school. And it's just this thing where these guys are probably pulling so much trim that they make up these stories about them being gay, and it's completely
Did you
out
just
of
say
nowhere.
pulling so much trim?
Yes, I
Wow.
absolutely did.
Wow.
Because it's 100% true.
Yes. Well, I mean, just we were talking about it while we were watching the film, but just think about the amount of douchey white guys that went out and bought Lotus Sprees
Oh,
after
yes.
this movie, thinking that they were going to pull the trim.
Yes, absolutely. A Lotus Esprit. What is it? What car was a Countach? That wasn't a Lotus. That was a Ferrari. Oh man,
Or Lamborghini.
Lamborghini Countach. There you go. Those like ultra rich 80s
Yeah.
cars. I can't even.
Well, I had never heard of a Lotus before this movie as a kid.
I think this movie was the introduction
and
to like the
you know,
mainstream. Yeah.
Porsche, and I think they said BMW or somebody else passed on because they didn't want to be associated with a film about a prostitute.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although every car they've probably sold is at a prostitute.
I mean, seriously, if your car is in that like poster that you can buy at Spencer's Gifts of that garage,
if you can sell this at like a college bookstore,
yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I mean, this truly is a film about, as you know, we've heard tell many a time, the oldest profession. So there's never been a time where someone hasn't sold themselves or something.
Yeah. But also it's it's 1990, but it still kind of is riding that wave of like 80s excess.
Oh yeah.
That weird job that Edward does.
He
Corporate
buys and
raider.
sells.
Yeah.
What is that? Who knows?
Well, I mean, even like Vivian asks him,
I
like,
know, so you're basically-
you don't buy or sell anything,
Yeah.
You don't make anything.
or make
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
No.
But it was a huge. I mean,
exactly
it was
do
a
you
thing.
do?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the character of Vivian
Yes.
that Julia plays.
Yeah.
So
Vivian Ward.
She lives at her cute little.
Is it cute?
I think it's kind of
It's
cute.
It is
I think it has some charm to it.
Yeah.
300 square foot, studio
Yeah.
hotel room that two women live in with twin beds
Yeah.
and garbage and beefcake photos, posters on the wall.
I feel like Laura is sort of playing the ultimate movie best friend. I think she's so much fun as Kit.
I love
Just
that
kind of like,
character.
this is the type of woman that saddles up to the bar and makes a little like buffet.
Yeah, after
Of the
coming
cherries
down
of
from
the-
her
of the cherries
coming
and
down from
oranges.
her heroin
Yep.
or cocaine or crack or
Well,
whatever they were doing.
So this is the thing. This movie starts off on a murder scene, right?
or an OD at
An
least.
OD, not a murder. An OD. A
Are you with the press?
prostitute OD,
Yeah.
right?
Are you with the press?
No,
It's
we're from Orlando.
Yeah. It starts off with a prostitute OD, Hank Azaria, young Hank Azaria.
Yes, as the detective.
Yeah, in and out.
Sort of these
one scene.
remnants of the script that it was meant to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and she
And-
comes in and Kit's there. Oh, sorry, I had to party, and
I had
so
to
clearly
party,
they had been
yeah.
doing.
And she straight
Probably
up says,
heroin.
You spent our rent money on drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She needed a little pick-me-up.
yeah.
Or crack, maybe. I mean, this was
Crack, yeah. 80s, 90s, yeah.
They talk about cocaine a few times.
Mm-hmm.
The guy on the street's like, "Oh, cocaine, her pimp."
Yeah, yeah. So it's like those elements are still in
Yeah.
there. And like Vivian she's pissed at Kit for doing these things. And on the one hand, Vivian is a little bit too not goody two shoes because she's a sex worker. So she's not that goody two shoes.
I don't want to
No.
say that she's
But-
naive because she does fully grasp
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
lot of the situations that she finds herself in.
But she's the kind of sex worker that just doesn't go as far as Kit would
Yeah,
go.
she's not into drugs. She
Yeah.
never has been.
Yeah.
It's not her thing. So I get it. I mean, and I understand how drugs can play a part in sex in the easiest
Yeah.
way because
Yeah.
it's the easiest way to disassociate from the act. If you're in a different state of mind,
Yeah.
you can then just do whatever.
Yeah. Because not all her Johns are going to look like Richard Gere.
New. You know those $5 hand jobs
Yeah.
she's given around the corner are not Richard Gere.
But
Absolutely.
she has this whole philosophy with Kit that they call the shots and when.
Yeah.
Right.
Too.
They're not
No,
going to
That
get a
they,
pimp.
No
they
pimps.
don't answer to a pimp, and they get the say of
I say who?
who they're taking money from.
I say who, I say when, I say how
who.
much. I say who, I say when, I say who.
Yeah. So they have their, they have their manifesto of how they're living their life, all that. Yeah. But it is interesting at the start of this movie. There's like, there's layers of
Yeah.
the
The
darker-
darkness is there. It's just they
Yeah.
I love this opening look in the wig.
The Carol Channing
This
wig.
like kind of crazy tube dress with cutouts in it. I think it's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's like two pieces too.
yeah,
yeah,
it's
with
too-
a little
yeah.
cock ring chain in the middle,
Yes,
holding
absolutely.
it together.
Yeah, and also in the opening montage, you see her. She has those black
Oh, the
thigh-high
boots that she's coloring in with the
with
Sharpie.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, that's very like drag on the go. Like
Absolutely. I don't know if you ever worked as a server or anywhere, but having to wear, or even being a hairdresser,
Yeah.
working in the salon when I was
Wearing
an
all black,
assistant,
yeah.
wearing all black. We would carry Sharpies in our pockets just to mark out the bleach stains on our
Oh, yeah.
shirts because it would just soak right into fabric and cover it.
Yeah, that's true. That they would just like bleed into
Yeah. Totally. So I get the being resourceful with those. She probably paid $30 for those boots on Hollywood Boulevard at the time. That was a big investment.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was like 10 hand jobs. Well, maybe not 10. I'm downgrading her
Three
to
hand
$3 hand jobs. 3 hand jobs to get those
Three
boots.
$10 hand jobs.
I mean, I love
It's like when you watch Drag Race and they're talking about how in the early days everything they make goes right back into their drag. She's putting the money back into her outfits.
Yes.
I mean, I
She
think
bought
that-
that wig.
Wig,
The
yeah.
wig's new, clearly.
I think that Raj has talked about it on her podcast that just sort of those
Downtown
stores,
LA,
those stores
the Hollywood
and
Boulevard,
Hollywood Boulevard
yeah.
is just where you went to go get dragged.
Yeah.
There's hooker stripper stores.
Yeah.
Yep. There's stripper stores
Because
Yeah,
they
yeah.
didn't since they were already catering to the sex workers, they didn't look down on the boy,
Yeah.
the drag queens. They're like,
Yeah.
whatever, we'll take money where we can get it.
Yep. And they carried 6
Sizes up to
6-inch
16
lucite
because there were trans sex workers working,
Absolutely.
wearing size 14 platform
Yeah.
heels.
I like to think that Vivian got her Carol Channing wig from that wig store. Like the costume store in Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
That it has
The Hollywood Halloween one.
Yeah.
wig stylist on duty.
Yeah. No, that was a shake and go at best. That was, she pulled that shit out the bag,
Right
went,
out of the bag.
popped it on. But it was that,
She gave
it was
a little
that
volume.
80s ash blonde, like
Ash
Dynasty,
blonde, yeah.
like Carol, what was her name on?
Linda Evans.
Linda Evans.
Yeah, Crystal.
Yeah.
Crystal,
That
yeah.
Linda Evans ash blonde.
Crystal
Oh,
Carrington. Yes.
So bad.
A dishwater blonde, would you call it?
It's just so ashy.
Yeah. But I mean, the look is iconic.
Yeah.
The blue skirt part almost looks tie-dyed.
Yeah, it's
right.
It's well, because
tie-dyed.
you can see, as you mentioned, when we were watching it, the dress that looks kind of jersey is actually a knit, and I think the bottom is the same as well. So it's probably hand dyed
Hand-dyed,
and all
yeah.
sorts of like funky things. But that outfit is
We should probably mention the costumes in this movie were done by Marilyn Vance, and Marilyn Vance did all of the John Hughes movies.
wow.
She dressed all of the Breakfast Club kids and also Ferris.
Right.
Love it.
Okay.
She did all the costumes for
All
those.
right.
Those are some great
Yeah.
iconic looks throughout.
And that's the thing about Vivian's look is that it's super curated in that it's got this like crazy like scoochy dress with the the cock ring and the thigh high boots, but then she pairs it with the coat.
The blazer from the
blazer, yeah.
from the the usher at the movie theater that they bought for $20 off of Hollywood Boulevard.
Yeah.
And then her little like cap.
The cap on top.
Yeah.
It's a whole like.
But then when she goes
outfit.
to, walk up to the car, she takes it off, throws the jacket off, does her little stretch.
I love her. I love
huge
her
bag.
back and forth with asking directions. I always think of the scene whenever I'm walking in this area. You got change from a 20 for a 20. I'll tell you
personal.
I'll tell you personal. I'll show you where the stars live.
I've already been to Stallone.
I've already seen Stallone's. See, that's the thing about this script is that there's just so many layered quotable lines that I don't even think about, and then I watch it and I can just finish the sentence.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing beats. That's a little stiff. Her just reaching into his pants. Well, no, but it's got potential.
Yeah. So he's kind of like, I don't know. Is he going through like a crisis at the beginning of this movie?
Well, he's obvious. He just ended his relationship with his current girlfriend over the phone.
Probably the wise decision, script move, that you have to have him break up with his girlfriend.
Yeah, there has to be some catalyst for him to end up down on his luck on Hollywood Boulevard.
This can't be a married man. That's taking Vivian out.
I love the little bit though about he's talking to the girlfriend and he mentions like, the girlfriend, she talks more to his secretary and she's like, I was in her wedding.
Oh no, she was one of my bridesmaids.
Yeah, all that kind of stuff. That's like such a good like little touch about like his life and how much he works. So we're setting up that he's just this workaholic guy. But he leaves this party in the Lotus Esprit, which I love. That he can't drive.
Because he doesn't drive stick, really.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting that it looks like the house is up on that portion of Sunset Boulevard that's above the Sunset Strip.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's about 2 miles
on the Walk of Fame.
And he's going west.
Oh, don't even get me started on continuity and directions and things.
Movie geography.
They drive me,
especially when you live in LA. It kind of like,
or New York is the same way. Like if I watch a New York movie, I'll never forget Morning Glory with Rachel McAdams. There's a scene where she's running, and I'm like, bitch, you just left 30 Rock and you're heading for something else, and suddenly you're like behind the New York Public Library. What the fuck is happening? Where are we? What's going on? So yeah, totally. The LA geography is not quite right.
A little cuckoo, yeah.
I mean, the Reed Bev Will is pretty easy. It's just you go
from the Strip,
you go down Sunset Boulevard, you take a left on Rodeo Drive, go down the street, and you're there.
Yeah,
I think Rodeo even ends at.
It does. You could take Santa Monica or Hollywood would shoot you down to Sunset, would shoot you down. Well, you could get lost, maybe.
This has been Hollywood Geography Minute. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week.
We have spent many a night on the streets of Los Angeles.
Immediately lets Vivian behind the wheel of the car just to drive him there.
Yeah.
And I like the little character note that, I mean, it's a leftover character note of the script that Vivian grew up like in Michigan where they make cars. Mm-hmm. She was around a lot of guys that fixed up old cars. So she
they made
knows
a
about
point to
automobiles.
say, not Michigan. Yeah. They made a point to say she grew up in Georgia to explain any accent flubs.
Yeah.
Okay. So that would have been a remnant. That would have been a remnant of the script before Julia was cast.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But I noticed that she did say Georgia. I was like, oh yeah, Georgia, interesting.
They said they did that on purpose just in case her accent got crazy.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, it's completely gone now. But
yeah.
But also that kind of just speaks to Edward and the kind of just like, just do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
like just do this for me. Just drive me. Get out. Just drive the car.
I mean,
want to drive this car.
His first car was a limousine.
Yes, exactly.
Like, he was not the kind of kid who was rushing to get his driver's license at 16. There was no need. He was driven.
Literally says in this movie, my first car was a limousine.
Yeah.
Oh my god. The scenes with them in, I mean, this presidential suite, this penthouse, with
the mauve carpeting and walls.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the decor alone is awful. But
It's like 17 different rooms got put together, but for some reason it works in this.
Yeah.
It photographs
house.
a little better at night. I think that in the daylight scenes, you can really tell. Oh, this
How
is a set.
tacky it is.
This is kind of a set.
Oh, someone built this with a hot glue gun.
But those early scenes where he first brings her to the hotel. And,
Oh, yeah.
She's in
And
the wig
it's-
still.
Again, at the time, we're still living off of that dynasty, that,
yeah.
Dallas, that 80s luxury,
Yeah.
so this was very in line with that whole scene of like, it felt like something very much out of Dynasty walking into that hotel room.
Totally.
And probably something that a lot of hotels like Rouge Beverwell, the Beverly Hilton, the Chateau,
Totally,
that when
yeah.
you see a certain type of woman come in with a man in a suit, if you're working the front desk, you know to shut your mouth.
Well, what I was going for is the fact that these scenes really show off her charm, right? They
It's
just
classic
show
Julia.
off how you just kind of fall in love with her and this character. When he says something to her like, "This is not the kind of hotel that charges by the hour," and she's like, "You know what? Actually, I have been here, and they do charge by the hour." Like, just the way she delivers that is so funny, and all the stuff she just starts spouting out all this, quick, fast talk and everything, and watching Lucy, and I've got the carpet picnic, and all these just little stupid little things they're just funny and charming.
We should
and
also
it's like-
mention that we're recording this episode with champagne and strawberries.
Oh, yes. That I was asked by Scott a few days ago, would you like wine or beer while we're recording? I said, oh, no. We must have champagne with strawberries to bring out the flavor.
Yes.
Have a strawberry.
And floss.
Why?
Why?
It brings out the flavor of the champagne.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
groovy.
Yeah. Oh, groovy. Okay. Yeah. And just all that kind of
Just
delivery.
that cute little, groovy.
And you see him just looking at her, just like, because he's not used to women being this kind of like off their guard around
or
him.
just this earnest,
Yeah.
just completely
It is
themselves.
it is her
Yeah.
earnestness that
Yeah.
really.
Because I think for
Makes it,
Edward, he's super handsome, super rich.
Well, yeah, and any woman who's with him knows that,
Yes.
and they want
women in
they're
his
they're
circles,
there
yeah.
for his money.
Yes.
Like he's a gold ring or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. A brass ring.
Brass ring.
Yeah.
That's it. Caught the brass ring.
Yeah, and she doesn't care about any of that
No,
stuff.
nothing.
And so he's just like, holy shit, what the hell is with this weirdo?
Yeah.
But she's just like showing us, the audience, how great she is.
Material in the hands of a different actress may not have worked, too.
Yeah.
No, there were moments. I mean, we were talking about this while we were watching again. Moments when you just look at her and just like, yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. This complete. I buy into this 1,000% because just look at that face.
Yeah.
Just look at her beam up at you. Oh, I've got a good trivia thing I heard about her face later, but
Ooh, all right. But it just, it just makes so much sense that she just became this huge megastar off of,
totally.
Steel Magnolias.
Especially
and this, and just
everything
like-
after the release of this movie. I mean, she became the biggest movie star in the world.
Yeah.
At the time.
Yeah.
it was a turning point for women.
Yeah.
In Hollywood, really, it brought about a whole new age.
I mean, it kind
Of
of coined
romantic comedies.
It kind of coined the term "America's Sweetheart."
Oh.
that I mean, had the movies really seen someone like that since like Doris Day?
Yeah.
and you really can't compare Julia to Doris Day. Like
No.
they seem completely different.
Well, I mean, the thing that made us fall in love with her was a movie about being a prostitute. So,
Yeah, totally. So yeah, all those scenes are great. The early scenes and her just playing off the whole like, there's a couch in the elevator and just the size of this room and all that.
Yeah.
And even the stuff the next morning when she comes out with, the Julia hair.
Yeah.
The Julia hair needs its own trailer. It needs its own
It needs its own credit in the
needs
movie.
a credit in the movie. This hair is crazy. Just constantly with the hand in it, shaking it out. Just doing that every chance she gets. But
Yeah.
when she comes out and just like wig is gone, bathrobe,
Right, sitting on the edge of the table with the plate under her butt.
eating a pancake in her hand, with her bare hands, all that stuff. It's
Just
like
just a touch feral. Just
yes, exactly.
I like those scenes too because Julia, or the character of Vivian, seems the most vulnerable because like she laid the charm on pretty hard the night before.
Right. She knows how to. She knows how to get. She knows how to get the dick hard and keep you entertained. But she doesn't have to ever be there the morning after. No.
Yeah. So okay, I do want to talk about. So the idea is 3,000, right? She initially
And
quotes him.
how many days is it going to be?
Six
days.
$500 a day.
Oh, she should have gone for more.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is where I'm going. She quotes him $100 an hour, right? Like nothing. I won't take less than $100. And he's like, "What for the night? For the day? For the
hour.
For the hour?" And he's shocked. Meanwhile, he's pulling in more than $100 an hour, doing whatever it is he does.
Right.
It's a weird job.
His $1 billion deal he's in town for.
Right. So is she bullshitting him when she says $100 an hour? Was $100 something that her and Kit came up with when they saw the Lotus Esprit pull up?
Total. That was like the farthest reaching she could even imagine. Because I'm assuming, as beautiful as she is, we have to, stretch our disbelief and think that she's having to do some pretty horrible sex acts before she meets, Richard Gere.
Yeah.
She's doing, back alley blowjobs and, spit roasting and hand jobs in the alley. You never know. I mean,
behind the Los Tacos.
She's not, hitting the Regent Beverly Wilshire every night. So $5 hand jobs, I'm sure, are something that happen regularly.
What is that corner? Is it Santa Monica and Highland?
Where Tangerine is set?
Yeah. Well, where
it used to now it's the Trejo's Donuts. Yeah, but it used to be the old donut place. Yeah,
Donut
and
place,
then Del Taco used to be across the street.
Where it's a
like
Walgreens,
a CVS or Walgreens. Yeah, that corner is iconic.
Yeah.
I mean that corner right there is the most famous.
That's where
sex worker corner in Los
If I
Angeles.
think of trans sex workers, that's where I think.
That's where you think. Yeah.
That
people
area.
always say like Hollywood and Vine, but it's like no, it's Santa Monica.
Yeah, Santa Monica and Highland. They were. That was. I mean, I was driving down Santa Monica Boulevard when I saw that one. 6 a.m. Trying to get that last chicken her store bought titties at me.
Yeah. So I think the idea was they see this car pull up and they're like, "This is the $100."
Yeah, that's your meal ticket.
So that
she even says it. She's like, "That's a Lotus Esprit." She's like, "No, that's rent."
That's rent. Yeah. So that makes
and
a little
rent
bit
was
more
probably
sense.
not more than $100 or so for the the Hollywood Boulevard Hotel.
Yeah, that room. So that makes a little bit more sense when she says $100 an hour, but then he says the whole night, and she says $300, and it's like, girl, what time is it? Is it 4 a.m.?
It's kind of
come on.
It kind of reminds me of.
It couldn't be that terribly late because he left the party at, even if it's like in the middle of summer where it doesn't get dark until like 8:39. He left that party. It was still daylight, and it wouldn't take him an hour to get down the hill.
No.
So
Yeah.
we're talking like at the latest 9 p.m. when she met. So we're talking like maybe 10, 11 at the hotel, maybe.
Yeah. So until 6, 7 a.m., that's like 9 hours.
Yeah.
$100 an hour, and she says $300 for the whole night. That is a steep discount.
It kind of reminds me of when I revisit.
We're talking as men here, just FYI. This is privilege and the privilege of our penis that we're having a conversation about right now. We really should have had a lady in this conversation.
It kind of reminds me of when I revisit Eyes Wide Shut, and the Vanessa Shaw character is the prostitute, and she's going to have sex for Tom Cruise for $200, and I'm just like 200, girl.
on,
oh,
dude.
you could get at least $500.
like he white, he got money.
We know he's got the cash.
We need to be
So
like.
yes, I mean we did. Some trivia we saw, it did say that with inflation, that $3,000 today would only be about $7,000. So it's not a huge increase. I mean, doubled, but still, what's that going to buy you in this day and age?
Yeah.
Like, fuck, rent
And
for
rent has more than doubled.
rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $3,000
Absolutely,
anymore. So
yeah, in Hollywood, So I mean, but I always thought like, girl, you can ask for a way more than that. But she's not.
But you never
she's
know.
not
It may
call
look
girl.
like
She's-
may look like a blown out Arby's down there. You never
true.
know.
That's
She
true.
might have to price accordingly.
It could look like a big beef and cheddar. You never know.
Sorry.
I mean, everybody wants a prostitute, but you want on the first day on the job.
Right? Bum.
That's an old Kathy Griffin joke.
Thanks, Kath.
Yes.
That's right. We just rewatched Kathy's HBO stand-up where she talks about thumbing through like the LA Weekly for a massage.
An erotic massage.
An erotic massage. That's right.
Oh, my goodness.
And talking in actual physical therapy.
And she had the whole like back and forth with that sweet man about it.
Yes. You wanted the first day on the job. Come on. Well, I mean, at least, yeah, $3,000 for 6 days. I guess $500 a day works out.
Shopping privileges. So
Yeah,
there's
plus
there's
more
perks.
for shopping.
Perks.
I mean,
You get
Perks.
clothes.
Yeah.
you know, I mean, that first dress she bought, the cocktail dress, came in a Gucci bag, so you know that shit was at least
Yeah.
$3,000 to $5,000 right there just for that cocktail dress.
Yeah. And
I was gonna say
accessories.
like $300 to $500, but
Oh,
no,
honey.
that's in the thousands.
Honey.
Not in, Rodeo Drive.
Not on Rodeo Drive, baby. Not at Gucci.
I'm like in the Marshalls state of mind.
You'd be in a Maxinista right now.
Right? No, I did bust out my labels today. Aside from my jersey that says Reach Bev Will is my nickname, I did bring the Gucci and the Balenciaga just to have that feeling of...
I mean, he didn't send her to like the outlets. Like Barstow.
Head out to Cabazon. It's just shy of Palm Springs. You can hit up the outlets and get a few pantsuits and a few joggers.
He said, "Walk outside. There's stores right there." Ugh. And so there's perks. You know, she got some hats. She got some the quarter.
Several pairs of gloves,
Three-quarter
opera length
length.
and 3/4 length.
I mean, I feel like also for like everyone's mom, I think that their favorite scene is the shopping scene.
The shopping retribution scene.
The retribution scene.
Yeah.
Where she gets to like
I'm just so
Rub
glad
it in their face.
rub it in
Better
their face. Big mistake. Huge.
I have to go shopping now.
Yeah. They've done it in The Office. They've done
We started our episode on Romy and Michelle.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is just us watching TV at home. It's just watching Romy and Michelle. It's just watching movies like Pretty Woman.
Yeah.
And just like
adding
lovingly making fun of them and adding like
Our sparkling commentary.
commentary.
Available on patreon.com/movies that made us gay. 24 commentaries and counting.
So one of my favorite tidbits of information that I read while I was boning up for this this conversation we're having here was when they were in their sex scene, the one they finally show, in the hotel.
Yeah.
Julia Roberts famously has a very large vein in the middle of her forehead that flares up when she gets, excited, scared, overacting.
Sure.
And we didn't know this from Pretty Woman because of what I just found out is that she got so nervous for the sex scene and she was so freaked out that the vein came out. And so Gary Marshall went and got in bed with her and Richard, and they both sat there and massaged the big vein in her forehead.
Oh, that's sweet.
To calm it down so they could finish the scene and not get the Julia vein.
Wow.
I had a friend who had one of those, and I called it his Julia. So it's something you'll notice in her filmography from then on, but not in Pretty Woman, thanks to Gary Marshall lovingly massaging it down during the love scene.
Well, I mean, there's also famously a lot of use of body doubles in this movie.
because I think Julia is someone who's very particular about her body. I mean, she's an actress. She's insecure. So she doesn't really feel comfortable doing scenes where you see a lot of skin.
Right.
And they had a body double, especially for the opening scenes that are the montage to the Iggy Pop song.
Yeah, when she's in the hotel getting ready.
I even feel like the poster of the movie is
it's a
someone
body
else's
double.
body.
It is absolutely. Yeah, they said when I was reading my things, they colored Richard Gere's hair and Julia's a body double.
I feel like we may have talked about this on another episode, probably the Death Becomes Her episode, but there was an entire Oprah Winfrey where a woman who was like a famous body double, and I think she might have become like a little bit more famous. She came on to Oprah and was just like, I don't get credited for this. She isn't, she was Isabella Rossellini's body double in Death Becomes Her because she had a lot of
getting out of the water naked,
all of that, and that she was Julia, in Pretty Woman and all that, and it was a whole thing of just like not getting the proper credit. I think the body double's credited in this, but I'm not sure.
Her name is Shelley Michelle.
Shelley Michelle. Well, all right. Maybe
Yep.
she's not as famous as I thought.
She was
Shelley
substituted for the
Shell.
close-ups
Michelle
of
Shell,
Vivian's
yellow.
body and the movie poster.
All right. Because you can, the very opening credits montage, and then even the Pretty Woman quote montage where the song is playing.
Oh,
And
when
she's
she's
putting the
shopping,
clothes on? Yeah, I don't think
and
that's
not
Julia.
her.
I don't think that's Julia.
That was
Yeah.
the body double as well in the store when they're
Yeah.
The
trying
shot of
on
her
the
back
outfits.
when she's
she's
leaning
trying
up
on
against the car.
You're trying on the or when she's holding the bra. Obviously,
Holding-
when they show
yeah.
her face, that's her. But
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else that didn't show her face, that was Shelley Shell. Nick Shelley,
Yes. The
Shel Silverstein.
the costumes are they're a little dated, whatever, it's fine, but she looks great and everything.
Yeah.
One thing that the polka dot dress from the polo field.
Right,
I was
yeah.
when we were watching the movies that made us. The costumer did say that dress is still recreated to this day, and she found that fabric in the back room of Beverly Silks and Linens, which is a fucking upholstery shop.
Yeah.
I think that she mentioned on that they only had one of each outfit.
Right.
That
Yeah.
they couldn't afford to
They
have
couldn't-
doubles.
Yeah, it was the budget was not so that they could have multiples of. I always find that so interesting that they have to have multiples, but now knowing what I know and having seen some, been on movie sets and things,
Actors sweat.
they're
the
disgusting.
The days are long.
Actors
Yeah.
are disgusting, and you get put through everything. One of my favorite multiple dress stories is the Jamie Lee Curtis in True Lies, the little black
sure,
dress.
yeah.
Okay.
They had 30 different versions, like the one where she's in the air, the one where she's this, the one where they had it in different materials and different this and different that. So that I always found funny. But yeah, I remember them saying they only had one of everything for this, so it was like,
don't fuck it up.
yeah.
And she's at dinner tables, holding drinks, out on top of grass. There's a lot of stuff going on that she could have messed up some of these outfits.
Yeah.
But, everybody loves the iconic, escargot.
Yeah.
Right,
eating
yeah.
scene.
Flinging it so much so that he put it in Princess Diaries. That Gary Marshall redid it with the same actor. And in Princess Diaries, I don't know
Does
if it
he
was
catch the
escargot,
escar-
but he catches
he catches
something,
something?
and says
Okay.
happens all the time.
And
now.
that's
also,
cute.
and
Okay,
also,
I like that.
Pretty Woman, pretty much a PG version, or the Princess Diaries, pretty much a PG version of Pretty Woman.
Okay.
It is a rags to riches story, yes. But yeah, again, Gary Marshall,
Yeah.
with all of the cast, his daughter playing the Queen's assistant, and Hector Elizondo, and the guy who was the elevator operator is the next door neighbor. And
Okay.
So yeah,
But things like not knowing the silverware is almost cliche now. But
Well,
you watch
yeah.
Vivian do it. And you're just
but back
okay,
then it was
yeah.
not.
It was fresh.
Because
Yeah.
we're coming out of post-war America was very let's make things easier for the housewives of America, and
Yeah.
let's do frozen foods and one pot meals and all. We were getting culinary expertise was not the height of no one cared about that
Yeah.
in the 80s 90s
Yeah.
aside from Julia Child and the Galloping Gourmet, but it wasn't Food Network didn't come out until the mid to late 90s, where it was really food was such a huge thing and people really paid attention. We ate fast food, we ate at casual diners, we didn't have fancy meals where there was silverware laid out.
So Edward taking her to this fancy dinner, which, going back to his interesting job.
Yeah, there's this B storyline that he's doing this acquisition of, I don't even know what.
A shipping company.
A shipping company.
Yeah.
Sure.
A family-owned shipping company.
Family-owned shipping
Ralph
company.
Bellamy's shipping company.
That is going under.
And he's
they
going to buy it,
and
break
they-
it up, sell it
Yeah.
for parts.
Yeah, make a lot more money.
Yeah, and he's been doing this the whole time. He doesn't have any sort of guilt about it. To him.
There's no emotional investment for him. It's just business.
Yeah.
How can I make the absolute most profit? It's not breaking up a family company means nothing to him at this point.
And sort of the character of Vivian starts to become this asset in this
Well, she becomes
business
almost a voice of
because
conscience.
she's- she starts to kind of put it into perspective
Yeah.
of what he's doing.
Yeah. It's like you're just kind of being a dick.
Because my thing was like, why is he taking her to this dinner? Like, what does he gain from having a woman there? Like, obviously they're just talking business, you know.
But again, I mean, I guess at this point, if you're having a business dinner, that's not. I mean, if you're having it at this fancy restaurant, you're already like trying to make it seem like it's not business, even though it really is.
Yeah.
So he's clearly just bringing her there as a buffer to try to diffuse even more so, and you know, make it less. Take them off their footing, I guess.
Yeah. And when
it's all. I mean, from a corporate raider perspective, it's all, you know, planned and strategic. You know, he brought her there for a reason to diffuse any possible like them getting too deep into business.
And when he sees her interacting with Ralph Bellamy and the grandson and all that, it kind of like something switches in his head and leads to him.
Where do I know the grandfather from?
He's an old actor from like the golden age of Hollywood.
Yeah, Ralph Bellamy's been around forever, but
Yeah.
you know him from coming to America. Not coming to. Well, he wasn't coming to America at the end, but Trading Places with Eddie Murphy and Don Amici. What?
I just know that you see Jamie Lee's boobs in it. That's all.
Well, he's one of the main bankers that does. He and his brother have a bet that they can turn Eddie Murphy from rags to a rags to riches story.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's in that.
He had a little mini comeback in the 80s as a senior citizen actor. You know?
Was he in like Batteries Not Included or some of that?
He's in Cocoon?
No, he's in neither of those two. But
Anything with Jessica Tandy.
No, but they're in the same kind of like they had that same sort of senior moment in the 80s where it was like, you know, them and Don Amici
bringing him out of mothballs and putting him in these movies.
But no, this was Ralph Bellamy's last film before he passed away, so good one to end on.
I think he is in Strangers on a Train.
Okay.
I want to say. Yeah. I think he's in Strangers on a Train. So, well, moving on. I mean,
he did get third billing in the film, so obviously they knew his name carried enough.
Right.
He was above Jason Alexander.
He was above Jason Alexander, In the credits, he was third.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, he's in The Wolfman. How about that? That was one thing that we watched, and I was like, "Oh, that's Ralph Bellamy from Pretty Woman." Yeah. He's in a lot. I love
The Wolfman.
Old stuff from back in the day.
So, kind of the rest of their weekend, there's the polo match, and you get the whole situation that he's starting to be pretty cocky going out with this woman, and just openly telling people that she's a prostitute, mainly being Jason Alexander.
Well, not openly telling, but definitely not. As he says later, you know, I wasn't prepared to answer questions. Well, come up with a freaking story, man. Don't go in there and be like, she's a hooker.
I mean, it was his idea to start bringing her around.
I know, that's what he paid her for, was to be there for the week, but my gosh.
He should have had a backstory.
Right? Be like, this is my...
been prepared,
my cousin's friend, or my, you know...
my niece.
Clearly not that. We know he doesn't have a niece.
We met in the Polo Lounge and just hit it off, and she's just like tagging along with me.
Yeah, we met on the flight from New York.
Yeah, but I mean, Jason Alexander's character, Stucky. I mean, what a slime!
What a perfect example of pig.
Yeah.
I love Jason Alexander though.
No, he's great.
We love Jason Alexander.
I just think of George from Seinfeld.
I always think of his character in Love, Valor, Compassion, where he's just like the biggest queen on earth in that movie, and it's great.
But yeah, he's super gross in this movie.
Well used,
very well used. Yeah. Because it's, I don't know, against type, I guess. But yeah, Edward. I feel like Edward just wasn't prepared for actually keeping her around.
And this is, I think, that when you really see the remnants of the darker movie. Of that, these are sort of the complex issues that the darker past of the story would have explored. And like I mentioned before, like that's absolutely a movie that I would watch. Of seeing the reality of, I picked up this girl on Hollywood Boulevard. I'm paying her to be with me this week, and it's going to get weird.
Things are going to get weird. Yeah, totally. And Stucky is his it's not his
lawyer.
business partner. It's his
No, he's his lawyer.
Yeah.
For the corporation, yeah. So it's a big...
Yeah.
It's
You
a
need that.
big,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
I mean,
Totally.
he drives a Lotus.
He drives a Lotus.
Yeah.
It's
Whenever I see
Has a house
Amy,
in the hills.
whenever I see Amy Yazbek, I love Amy Yazbek. I think that there's probably cut scenes of this movie where you maybe get to know his personal life a little more. Maybe it's just because, like, when I see Amy Yazbek,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh my god, you got Amy Yazbek. I love Amy Yazbek. There she goes.
Well, I think in 1990 she was just a little bit more of a character,
Yeah.
journeyman actress. But yeah, she only has one fleeting scene in the.
Well, she has two.
Yeah,
She has
two
the
scenes.
beginning and the
She has
polo
the
match.
opening scene in the
Yeah.
polo match.
But
yeah.
a very,
With that beautiful red
I
perm.
was gonna
Oh.
say, very beautiful lady. That like peaches and cream, like white face and
Yeah.
red hair. We love her. Go watch Men in Tights. She's a gem.
Beautiful Maid Marian.
Yes. So, I mean, this is where we get our like kind of major conflict where she is like not appreciative.
Vivian doesn't like to be treated like a prostitute.
Well,
No one's ever made me feel like a prostitute before.
I mean,
You just did.
yeah.
It's that scene in particular where she almost leaves that you
Yeah.
can really see the, oh, okay. I can see the darkness
well,
in
it's
this movie.
interesting because Edward is very flippant with her.
He's flippant, but he also kind of gets the most aggressive he is in the film is in this scene where he's
Yeah.
like, "Ah, blah, 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 blah."
Yeah,
he just
yeah.
very, it's like, I wasn't prepared for this and I'm not, blah,
Yeah.
I'm a piece of shit, basically, is the
Yeah.
underlying. The underlying is I'm a spoiled, rotten piece of shit and I don't know how to deal with human emotion,
Yeah.
but...
Yeah. But like she says something and he kind of like throws something back in her face at one point. You're just like, oh my God, like bring it down a notch. So yeah, he kind of has not a dark side, but a little bit where like he doesn't really, like you said, he doesn't really understand emotion and he can't really read where she is.
Yeah.
So he says stuff that's like not.
Well, again, in his brain, he's still thinking that she's his employee,
Yeah.
and I think he says that in the scene. It's like you
Yeah.
are, in fact, my employee,
Yeah.
or something, horrible like that.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, you can definitely see that we're going to do the dark take and we're going to do the funny take.
And then something about his shoes. Say something about the shoes.
Yeah. But I mean, he talks her back in.
Yeah.
He brings her back in.
Well, he sees that she didn't take the money.
Oh, right.
I think that's what gets her. I think that's what gets him out to the hallway when he sees she left the cash behind.
Yeah.
the whole wad, the whole $3,000.
Meanwhile, you're like, take the money.
Yeah,
Well, she did take that Gucci dress, though, so that was worth
Took
something.
the dress. She has her
I
own
didn't think she had that at
clothes.
first. I thought she just had the tube dress and the wig, but
The
you,
wig.
you
can see
spotted
the-
that dress.
You can see the lace, the black lace dress. That's hers. It's like, this is mine now. See this dress? Now I keep it. So, but the whole thing is like leading up to, I mean, is it an iconic line? I want the fairy tale.
What do you see happening between us?
I don't know. When I was a little girl, my mama used to lock me in the attic when I was bad, which was pretty often. And I would pretend I was a princess trapped in the tower by a wicked queen. And then suddenly, this knight on a white horse with these colors flying would come charging up and draw his sword. And I would wave, and he would climb up the tower and rescue me. But never, and all the time that I had this dream, did the knight say to me, "Come on, baby, I'll put you up in a great condo."
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned in our My Best Friend's Wedding episode that all of the great Julia Roberts movies have this line, is that I want the fairy tale.
A version of it.
And I think it's when we mention My Best Friend's Wedding, it's the scene on the boat with her and Dylan.
Yeah.
She has it in Notting Hill
Notting
for
Hill,
sure. With
standing in front of a boy.
yeah,
And I mean, in Aaron Brockovich, I mean, talk about the I'm telling you, I'm not going of Oscar clips when she's naming off all of the names in the boardroom.
yeah.
I mean that right there. It's just like ultimate Julie Roberts and Aaron Brockovich. Roll the clip.
Yeah.
Not the cheap shoes.
That's also a really good scene.
That's a great scene.
You know, it's funny. We did a revisit of Erin Brockovich during the pandemic, so Pete had never seen it.
Really?
Never seen it
And
all the
I
way
think
through.
that I had almost convinced myself that Erin Brockovich is overrated. Like, it's really not that great. Julia Roberts swept that award season. She won everything. She won the Globe, Oscar, BAFTA, Critics' Choice. She won everything.
Yeah.
And I think that I had almost convinced myself that it's really not that great of a performance. And then I rewatched the movie. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. Talk
great.
about, like, a movie
Holds up.
that could have been a made-for-lifetime slog
Yeah.
of,
Totally.
like, a procedural movie about this, like, famous court case. But it's not. Like, it's super entertaining.
Yeah.
Julia is really great in it. And she totally deserves that Oscar.
Yeah, she played. I mean, I loved her speech that year when the orchestra started. She's like, "No, man, you can put down your little stick because I may never get up here again."
Yeah. But, I mean...
But, yeah, this is that
Yeah.
moment of a Julia Roberts movie of I Want the Fairy Tale.
Right. And so this is kind of where Edward really kind of changes his tune for the most part. You know, he changes his tune with this big corporate deal with, you know, the shipping family.
Edward starts to grow more of a heart.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And why can't he make this relationship work out?
Yeah.
Just because he never has before, but
So, do we want to talk about the ending of the original script? Which I could see reading the original script, and when you get to the ending, just being like, oh my God.
You mean the ending where Kit dies?
The ending where...
that's not real.
That's
That
not
didn't
real.
happen.
That didn't actually happen. So Kit didn't die in the original
And neither
draft.
did Vivian. She
Neither
didn't
did
OT.
Vivian.
Everybody
But
remembers Kit dying.
The writer talks about that the original ending of the script is that they're driving in the car. They're going back to the place where he originally picked her up. They get in a big fight on the way there. He kicks her out of the car and then throws the money down that he owes her, the $3,000, and she doesn't pick it up at first, and then all the money is just sort of blowing in the air. All of these homeless people are sort of trying to go get the money, and then she changes her tune at the last minute and picks all of it up. And then
as much as she can get.
as much as she can get. And the last scene of the movie is her and Kit on a bus to Anaheim. They're going to Disneyland because she told Kit that she would take her to Disneyland. And Kit says, I think in the script, can I get one of those balloons with Mickey ears on them? And I think that Vivian says, no, only kids get those. Or no, I think that Kit says that.
Kit says that. She's like, no, those are just for kids. And Vivian says, no, you can get...
Because Vivian doesn't answer.
Yeah.
And then Vivian says, no, you can get one of those.
Yeah.
I kind of love that ending. Like, I could see reading that ending and just being like,
We would not be having this conversation. We would not be discussing
It would
this
be a
movie
completely different
in
movie.
2022. We would not be discussing The Legend of Julia Roberts if that was the film.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to say that would not have been... If this movie wasn't this movie, we wouldn't have had...
it lives a little better on the page.
Yeah. Yeah. The idea of it is nice and all, and thought of seeing something a little grittier and darker, and there are whispers of it in the film, but when you think of it, this is the movie you want. You
Yeah,
want a happy
definitely.
ending. You want them
You want the fairy tale.
You want
like
the
Vivian.
hooker to win.
So, like, later on in their lives, if they, you know, go on and have this relationship and people are like, how did you two meet?
Right?
Do they come up with a story? They're just like, all right, this is the story we're going to tell.
I mean, my husband and I met on a dating app, and we used to tell each other we met through mutual friends.
There you go. Mutual friends. Love it. So they can. This is one of the first instances of people faking their
Faking their backstory.
Yeah, yeah.
You really can't tell the parents that you met on Grindr, or you picked your wife up on Hollywood Boulevard,
Right?
Yeah.
She was my last ditch effort on OK Cupid or whatever.
So, I mean, well, let's say, you know, he does go in the limo and he climbs up the fire escape and he gives her the fairy tale and all that. So I'm assuming if they do start a relationship, then he didn't really pay her for everything.
I mean,
And I guess, yeah.
How much,
if she's smart, she'll get him to marry her in California. Then she gets half with community property. Because if they get married in New York, she's fucked.
This is true. But I mean, what does the legendary Venus extravaganza say? If a married woman wants a new washing machine and she tells her husband, I need a new washing machine, then she's going to go to bed with him and he's going to buy her the new washing machine.
Yeah.
And so what's the difference, than what I have between me down there? Venus extravaganza, smart cookie, using that noodle. She knew what she was talking about. What is the difference between getting married to, and having this...
Having to put out on his birthday and Christmas just to get your, tennis bracelet and washing machine.
Yeah. And Venus was very much like, I go out with these men and they give me gifts. Yeah. They want to see me in shoes. They want to see me in nice dresses. And I accept these gifts from them.
Well, yeah.
And that was Venus's kind of the way that she
explained it. It's not like Edward
it.
wants, a Hollywood Boulevard streetwalker all week. He sees this diamond in the rough.
And the same thing for Venus Extravaganza.
Just like dress her up. It's his Barbie doll.
Yep. Yep. Exactly. So I always thought of that when she tells those stories on Paris is Burning. I'm just like, oh, bitch, you got this all figured out.
Yeah. Like every married woman's a hooker for her husband.
Yeah. In that soft little Venus Extravaganza voice. I want a washing machine.
Between me down there.
Go watch Paris is Burning, everybody.
I mean, we haven't gotten the gay remake yet.
Of Pretty Woman?
Of Pretty Woman.
Oh, God. But we need to stop with the remakes. We need some... I would love to see some original content coming out these days.
The Netflix gender swap remake of...
of Pretty Woman. I mean, they did it to... What was that? Oh, yeah.
Just did He's All That.
She's All That. He's All That.
He's All That, which has like 2% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, we have Marry Me coming up.
Marry Me.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to be going to Marry Me.
Oh, God. That's definitely going to be like a Made in Manhattan.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson.
Owen Wilson looks crazy.
Yeah. That feels
trailers.
like... Yeah. That's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Owen Wilson, we love you, but I don't know if you...
It's a cuckoo pairing.
Owen Wilson,
weird
I just
pairing.
never... Every time he's put in a leading man situation, I'm just like, but...
Yeah.
What? That nose looks like a crooked dick.
It looks like a crooked dick. It looks like Dan Aykroyd in Nothing But Trouble. Crazy.
Oh. Not Dan Aykroyd, Nothing But Trouble. His little penis nose.
Sorry, Owen
Okay,
Wilson. Now he can't come on the show.
Now we're going on tangents.
It's all about the third
Now he's
Owen
gonna back
Wilson.
out.
It's all about the third Wilson brother.
Yes. I forget his name.
Yeah.
It is not Casey Wilson
He's the
because
one-
that is a woman.
He's the one in Charlie's
she is
Angels.
on-
Who in Charlie's Angels?
There's a third Wilson brother.
There's a third Owen Wilson.
There's a third Owen Wilson brother. Yeah.
In the first Charlie's Angels, he is a limo driver that Drew gets in the car, and she's like, "Ooh, it's so hot."
Oh, and
Air
licks
conditioner. And licks the steering wheel.
Gotcha.
He's that.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Good tangent. Good to know.
He's good looking. Anyhow,
Pretty Woman. Yeah, I see. Okay,
Yep.
yeah, I remember him.
But yeah, I mean, Pretty Woman, this movie's iconic. I mean, I loved it when I was a kid. I remember sort of hearing about this movie, and then my mom just brought home like a stack of tapes from the video store, and I'm pretty sure Pretty Woman was in it. And I feel like this is a movie that was rerun on cable a lot.
Yeah, it was huge in the cultural zeitgeist of the early 90s. I mean, artists wrote songs about it, and, there were comments about it on the TV shows of the time, and it hit all the talk shows talked about it, and it led this whole conversation about sex work, and it was really a big deal for news fodder, if you will.
Yeah.
It started a whole new conversation.
and I mean, just the simple phrase "hooker with the heart of gold."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, come on,
Yeah.
it's
Pretty
like-
Woman.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, God, I'm
Anything
trying to
with
think
the
of
heart
this
of gold.
random-ass band I used to love in the 90s, and they had this song, and they talked about Pretty Woman, and oh, God, I can't remember it.
Roy Orbison.
Pretty Woman.
So, yeah, I mean, it's the material is not dark or questionable or anything like that, but it's something that maybe right off when you're pitching it, if you're telling the story, you'd think, I don't know, that's a little crazy. Maybe that's too much.
A little
for general
problematic.
audiences.
Sure.
A little problematic.
Yep. Mhm.
But the thing is, everybody just latched onto it, and it has to be because of
it was Julia Roberts.
Yeah.
It was so much of it was the
Strength.
charm of Julia Roberts. 'Cause
Julia
just think,
Roberts selling the shit out of
you know,
it.
imagine picking up Jennifer Connelly on Hollywood Boulevard
very different
or
movie. Yeah.
or Molly Ringwald on Hollywood Boulevard.
A movie that I would have liked to watch.
So I got to tell you, speaking of Molly Ringwald, just a little side tangent. I saw her in Cabaret on Broadway.
Oh, okay.
Incredible.
Talk about mind-blowing. I mean, she played the role of Sally Bowles in a way I'd never seen it. So flippant, so just like blasé about everything, and just a very different take.
Okay.
And I was really impressed.
Love that.
So impressed.
Yeah, love that.
This was like early 2000s
Sure.
when I was living in New York, but yeah.
But, they talk so much about Gary Marshall, kind of the way he directed this movie and kind of not throwing out the script, but just using improvisation so much.
Right.
And Julia being this type of, personality that she is, that somebody like, Jennifer Connelly or Molly Ringwald would not have been able to bring that kind of humor into it at least, and that's what really injected that kind of
I mean, she was
heart
still
and
just so
humanity and all
fresh
that.
and charming and just effervescent. There was just,
Yeah.
it was magic. It really was a magical fit for this film.
Yes, yeah, and it's like, we can't stop quoting it.
Yeah.
We love it, and it's a movie that
I do
everybody
quote
can agree
Kit
on.
DeLuca more often
Oh,
than not.
well,
You
yeah.
know,
I mean, essential movie best friend, Cinda fucking Rella.
Cinda fucking Rella.
The giant big gulp.
Oh, sorry, I had to party.
It's a party.
Skinny Marie.
I love Skinny Marie.
Where were you last night? I called and called. Ma?
Kit, the bathroom is bigger than the blue banana.
She would have just been coming off of Sex, Lies, and Videotape, too.
Yes.
So,
Yes,
big moment of her career.
Yep. $50, Grandpa. For 75, the wife can watch.
I was a watcher of Just Shoot Me.
Yes, of course.
I love Just Shoot Me.
That's her.
That was her sitcom in the late 90s.
George Siegel, Wendy Malick.
Wendy Malick was in it.
David Spade.
David Spade.
David
Yeah.
Spade.
Yeah.
Who's the bald guy who was in?
He was he?
He was in Galaxy Quest.
Yeah. He was.
He was like her boyfriend, who was like the
He was
photographer.
a
I can't
photographer.
remember his name.
And
anyway.
he played Versace in an older one.
Yeah,
Not
yeah,
the
yeah,
Ryan
yeah.
Murphy one, but an older version. He played Versace in that.
Totally see that.
Because he looks like him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just Shoot Me. Fun show.
It's Laura San Giacomo, underrated. She didn't get much in the realm of film roles,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
I thought she was spectacular.
should have
as a
been
kid.
Oscar nominated for both Sex, Lies, and Videotape and Pretty Woman. Also, we should mention Oscar nominated performance by Julia Roberts. How cool is that?
Yeah.
I feel like this type of role now would have a lot of trouble cracking that 5.
Yeah, and again,
But it was such a moment.
It was. Yeah, it really was just a magical moment where the actress was really she was just the perfect choice. I mean, I can't even think of anyone else just bringing that sparkling, easy charm that she just had at the time. And she still can bring out, but that was just her, She had that inherent ease to her.
You saw it in My Best Friend's Wedding, too.
Yes. They when Best Friend's Wedding was coming out, they're like, the pretty woman is back. That's how they literally were billing Best Friend's Wedding.
She's not doing the weird political thrillers or
No,
Mary Riley's anymore.
Literally, that was like, our pretty woman is back, and she's blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, love that. Well, I mean, this movie has obviously stood the test of time, and it's like...
I mean, us as little
Get
gay
outta
boys
here.
loved it.
Yeah.
We all,
as a gay adult,
strive
I love
to
it.
have a sugar daddy who's
Sugar
young and
daddy
handsome,
goals.
thanks to Julia, and
And
Richard.
I mean, we mentioned it at the top of the show. I mean, in the gay community, prostitution is it's common.
It's there. It's a
in
thing.
this
It's
day
definitely
and age,
there.
In this
Mm-hmm.
day and age, especially, I mean, people
Like,
are
sex work and hustlers has always been a part of the gay community,
Yeah.
whether you like it or not.
well, and it's always been a part of the straight community
Oh,
too.
yeah,
They just
yeah.
lie about it a lot more.
Yes, absolutely. So we briefly touched on it. The original title, 3000. I get it. Doesn't really make a lot of sense.
When you're looking through the newspaper and wanting a movie to go to,
what does 3,000
Pretty
mean?
Woman
Is it
stand
about
out
baseball?
or 3,000? 3,000 kind of sounds like a movie about the stock market.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Or
But also, Pretty Woman is the whole like that weird thing of like it's got to be that it just sounds like a executive was like it's got to be a song title.
And you know who that
And
executive
it's gotta
was?
be oldies 60s 50s 60s song title.
Jeffrey Katzenberg.
Of course
It was
of course
him.
It was Jeffrey
Yeah.
Katzenberg. What else could we have called this movie? I don't know. I'm terrible at that. Naming stories, naming characters. I'm terrible at naming things.
Yeah.
So it'd been difficult. I get
6 days, 7 nights.
6
Oh
days.
no, wait. That
was
a different
Anne
film.
Heche. Love that one. Yeah,
Hollywood Boulevard, maybe.
Hollywood.
Yeah.
It's Hollywood Shuffle. Ooh, I like that movie. Yeah, I don't know, but it's, whatever. It's Pretty Woman. It brought Roy Orbison back into like
I'm telling
the top
you,
40.
we played that song played at my junior year
Dances,
winter formal.
yeah,
we were still
same.
playing that. Girls had recreations of the red dress.
Oh, jeez.
It was between that or recreations of the dress from that Demi Moore wore in Indecent Proposal. Yeah, that black cutout thing. There was the red. I had like 5 girls at my junior formal in the
Scandalous.
red or the Demi Moore in 90. This was 93.
Yeah.
A few years for it to really filter down
get
to the
down
high
to-
school proms.
In my high school prom, I feel like
They would have dressed like Romeo and Michelle.
I went to school in like the early 2000s, so
yeah.
Oh, so you were like Ashley Tisdale in it.
I feel like it would have.
You were like-
been.
you were like-
not even quite Ashley Tisdale because that's more like
It was.
that's
it was
more like
High School
2007.
Musical.
No, I'm not that. I'm not that young. Maybe
year?
sort of like when I was in high school, the Pirates movie was really big. So like Keira Knightley.
Were they wearing pirate dresses at your prom?
Probably
Probably
a lot
not.
of the dorky speech and drama kids were. The Lord of the Rings movies were all the rage when I was a senior in high school too.
goodness.
So maybe like dressing like Arwen or Aowen for prom.
Well, I think it's probably time to wrap this guy up.
Thank you so much, Chris,
This
for
was a
coming
lot of
on.
My
fun.
pleasure. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me to just talk shit and
I mean,
spout out random
facts.
quotables and
We
facts
watched the
about
movie
this
with the guest.
wonderful film.
I always love watching the movie with the guest
yeah,
right away.
it's always fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And then just talking immediately afterwards. Yeah. So this was a lot of fun.
Did you want to
Pretty
plug
Woman.
your social media?
Oh, I mean, if
do
you
hair.
want to, I do hair. I do lots of things, but my social media is mostly geared towards my hair. So Chris Rosson Hair is my social. And,
You can sometimes go and get your beard trimmed by you at Precincts
sometimes.
on the beer
Only
bust.
for,
Not since the Omicron outbreak,
Sure.
because I've been staying away from the large crowds. But yeah, all sorts of things coming up. I'll be who knows what. And I'm not going to spill the beans, but
Alrighty.
all sorts of things on the horizon now that we're coming out of.
Yeah.
Well, who knows what we're
Yeah.
coming
I
out
mean,
of.
Yeah, knock on wood, whatever. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming on. This
Thank
was
you so
a lot
much.
of fun, and we'd
Thank
love
you,
to have
thank
you on in
you.
the future again for something new.
Yes, maybe
So,
something that I don't know so well, so I can have like
Ooh.
surprises.
There you
and
go.
Sure.
twists
There
and
you go.
turns.
All right. Well, we'll put that in the hopper, and we'll think about what's coming up. But until next time, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you very, very soon. Bye.
Bye.
And thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Another great episode. Thank you, Chris. That was really, really fun. We love Pretty Woman. Is that available anywhere for streaming?
I think you just have to rent it.
Yeah, you can rent it, but it's on basic cable.
It's
all
on
the
cable
time.
a lot.
Everybody's seen Pretty Woman.
Pretty Woman.
Yeah. Go buy a 75-cent VHS of it at Out of the Closet. Why not? But I think it's about that time in the show.
Patreon shout-outs?
Patreon shout-outs.
Let's hear 'em.
We'd like to say hello to all of our wonderful patrons: Seth, Alberto, Esperanza, Nicole, Susan, Barry, JJ, Leighton, Shelby, Michael, Charlie, Paul, Jamie, Drew, Jimmy, Genevieve, Dawn, Joshua, Emily, Millie, Aaron, Melinda and Jim, Jessica, Nick and Shannon, Christine and Rufino. Thank you so much.
Love you guys.
For being our patrons. Head over to patreon.com/moves that made us gay to check out all of the Patreon exclusive content.
And also, give us 5 stars.
Yes, indeed. Head over to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, where you listen
All
to
those platforms
podcasts.
where you get podcasts.
And if you're able to rate us, rate us. Give us a good review. It's free. It only takes a couple seconds. Just jot down, we love this podcast. We'll read it on the air on one of our shows in the future. And, giving us those 5 stars and good reviews helps us to get seen and helps more people to find us, all that good stuff. So head over there and just follow us and like us on any and all of those social media platforms. We are at Movies That Made Us Gay on Instagram and Facebook, and we are on Twitter.
At MTMUG Pod.
Yes, indeed. And if you want to go ahead and follow us personally, my name is Pete. I am at Peter Lasagna on Instagram and Twitter.
I am Scott Youngballer on Instagram, and follow my Letterboxd. See what I'm watching.
Yes, indeed. Letterboxd, a lot of fun. I say it every week. I need to update my own personal one, but hey,
if you pretty much look at my Letterboxd, you know what
that's what I've seen. Yeah, how about that? So thanks for listening, everybody. We'll be back next week with another fresh, piping, steaming hot episode. Until then, see you soon. Bye.
Bye.